There are women in my life that shape the woman I am. They're forces of nature, strong, loving, driven by their life's work and their families. Like most women, we band together and get stuff done. And we do it with style. Let's travel to Pompeii to cook with the coolest, strongest, and finest cook I know. Today on Christina Cooks the Mediterranean Way.
Underwriting for Christina Cooks is provided by Suzanne's Specialties, offering a full line of alternative vegan and organic sweeteners and toppings. Suzanne's Specialties, sweetness the way Mother Nature intended. Jonathan's Spoons, individually handcrafted from cherry wood, each designed with your hand and purpose in mind. Additional funding is also provided by...
Hi, I'm Christina Perello, and this is Christina Cooks, where each week we take fresh, seasonal ingredients and whip them into amazing dishes. Will they all be plant-based? Yeah. Will they all be delicious? Yes. One of the things that I have found really is great in my life is I have this wonderful posse of women that work with me, hang with me. It seems like I taught some of them how to cook and they become like family. My oldest and dearest friend is part of the crew. And for me, that foundation of women creates so many queens of the table that you can't even imagine. They're backstage, front of house, they're everywhere. So we're going to make some dishes today that are reflective of my relationship with women. And one of the things we're going to do is create this wonderful summer dish that doesn't require any cooking except for the pasta. And we're going to use a very special Italian pasta that's called conchiglie. Say it with me. Conchiglie. They're shells. So what we're going to do first is make the gravy, because all it is marinated, or in Italian we call it marinato. So we're taking some cherry tomatoes and quartering them, throwing them into a mixing bowl. This is a really totally simple, wonderful summer dish. You can quarter or half. I find that quartering them makes them turn more into like a little bit of a gravy because they get to soak up more of the sauces. We'll take a little red wine vinegar for some acidity, which is going to break down the tomatoes. Extra virgin olive oil. Be generous with the oil because this is your gravy. So like that. Some salt to help the tomatoes break down. Just a pinch more. And then we'll take some fresh basil and we're going to shred it and mix it in. And this is going to marinate right in with the rest of it. And we're just going to shred these by rolling them up and coarsely running our knife quickly along them into a coarse chop. You don't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be a chiffonade. It just has to be like that. Just like that. We're going to stir our pasta. And now we'll go in and stir this. Now, technically for this dish to be at its best, you want to serve it with the pasta hot and the tomatoes marinated. And they're going to marinate, for this to really be great, they have to marinate for about 15 to 20 minutes. So you see how this looks now. In 15 minutes, it looks like this. You see how the tomatoes have broken down. Look at the difference here. It's a very, very different looking texture, and even color is darker, right? So now we're going to let those marinate. We'll use them later. Now our shells are ready. Our conchiglie are ready. So now we're going to take them and we're going to go right into the marinade like this. And this is one time when you're cooking pasta that you don't want to take a lot of the pasta water with you. So really drain them off. I'm still not a big user of colanders, but if you want to do it that way, go ahead. This is easier for me. I like using fewer things. It's less to wash, and I'm lazy. And if it's summer, I don't want to be washing a lot of dishes. and colanders and whatever. Okay. So now, I'm going to come over here and give this a stir to coat. It doesn't really coat. This is almost like a pasta salad, but not an American-style pasta salad with a mayonnaise dressing. This is what's called pasta crudo, because the veggies are raw and just marinated. This dish is gorgeous. It really only works when tomatoes are at their best, so in the summer. Or better yet, tomatoes at their best growing at the base of Mount Vesuvius, where the tomatoes turn from cherry tomatoes into almost like a candy when you marinate or cook them. So if you can, well, you can't, but why don't we go? Let's go to Mount Vesuvius and hang out with my friend Antonella, and you will meet the authentic queen of the table. Antonella, cuciniamo insieme per 6 anni e per me tu sei la reina della tavola.
Grazie.
I just said we've been cooking together for 6 years in this kitchen, and for me, she's like the queen of the Italian table. So, when I was a little girl, my nonna used to make puttanesca all the time because she was from Castellamare. So we're gonna make puttanesca. So,
Ok.
let's make it.
Usiamo l'olio.
So this is oil that Antonella's produced on her
Vai.
farm. You always want oil to cover the bottom of your pan when you make a gravy or a sauce for pasta.
Ok. Abbiamo l'aglio fresco.
So this is fresh garlic from Antonella's garden. You can see it still has the stalk.
Puliamolo sul lavandino.
Okay.
Ora vi insegno un segreto.
So this is her secret, she just said. You break a bit of the stalk off of the fresh garlic and put it into the oil to increase the flavor. È tutto?
Sì.
Okay. So all of it.
Ok. Taglialo a metà. Ok. Brava.
Grazie.
Ok. Togli il guscio e metti dentro.
Okay. So in Italian cooking, we don't very often chop the garlic very small like we do in America because the garlic flavor is too strong. It'll be too bitter.
Ok.
Okay.
Allora,
Okay, so now you're going to take the pot off the heat and kind of roll the garlic around in the oil so it doesn't burn.
ma è così caldo che ancora riesce a soffriggere,
Right.
vedi?
So you can see that the oil is hot and the garlic is frying. So you want to keep it in the oil again so it doesn't burn and become bitter.
Poi abbiamo i capperi.
See, so
Laviamoli.
these are capers. When you buy capers at home, you want to buy capers in salt. Yes, you can buy them in brine, but they're a little more acidic. This is the true way to use capers. Lava. So she's going to rinse them really, really quickly. The interesting story about puttanesca is puttanesca, they say, the legend is that puttanesca was invented by ladies of the night because it's a quick gravy. You make it in between clients to help to keep your energy high. Non lo so. Italy is filled with legends, but it's a really nice one. I like that legend a lot. So you want to make sure you rinse them like 2 or 3 times so that the salt isn't too much. See how the garlic is a little bit blonde. They're calling it just slightly colored. So now we take it out. It doesn't stay in the dish. So now the capers go in. Oh, nice sizzle. Put the capers into the oil so that they fry.
Olive.
So she drained her black olives off. This is a dish with black olives, capers, and tomatoes.
Prego.
Metà or,
Metti tutte.
So I have to take the seeds out of all these olives. When you make puttanesca, you have to work for it. But you want to make sure you take what they call it the nocciole in Italian. If you don't take that out, then somebody's going to break their teeth. So the Sicilian olives are harder, so you actually have to carve them off the nut.
Devi sapere che a Napoli
Yeah.
ne mettiamo solo un po' senza nocciolo, solo per il sapore. Poi li mettiamo con i noccioli.
Ah, sì.
Ah,
Ah, So she just totally took away what I just said and
Vai.
said you take some of the seeds out and you put it in with some of the seeds for better flavor.
Giriamo.
So you stir. Giriamo is stir. We stir.
Ok, no sale.
No salt because you have olives and capers. These are hot peppers that Antonella grew and conserved herself in oil, so they will be hot. Sì.
Siamo in tanti, quindi mettiamo un bel cucchiaino.
Sì. So you don't want to use too much,
altro
she's
po'
saying.
d'olio.
You want the flavor to be nice, not crazy.
Questo si chiama olio santo.
Ah, this is called sainted oil, the oil of the hot pepper. When you're cooking and you can smell the heat, that's good. If you can't breathe, it's too much.
I pomodori sono pomodorini, non pelati.
So these are cherry tomatoes that have been preserved in cans. Sometimes people rinse their can of tomato to get everything out, but you use very little water. You don't want your sauce to become thin. You want your sauce to have nice texture. See how beautiful and silky this is? It's only going to become more so when it cooks.
Sale. Ok, metti un altro po'.
Okay.
Per il pomodoro è scostumate di sale.
So you have to put some salt because the tomatoes are sweet and you don't want the gravy to be crazy.
Ecco qua, ora
Ok.
mettiamo il coperchio.
Okay, so now we cover it and it stays here for about 15 minutes. This is a quick sauce. Usually sauces cook for a longer time, but this one's gonna cook pretty quick. Okay, and so while that cooks and the water comes to the boil, we're gonna prepare a caponata for an appetizer, an antipasto. So, right now we're chopping cherry tomatoes from her garden. See?
Sì.
So into the
Basilico.
caponata goes chopped
Un
cherry
poco d'aglio.
tomatoes,
Olio.
basil, a little bit of oil.
E poi
And
condiamo, giriamo.
We mix it. Then we're going to add
Conservate.
to it her conserved eggplant that from the garden. For the non-vegans, we add some mozzarella to it. For the vegans, not so much. Okay. And what we did was we did 3 tomatoes per person so that you have enough caponata to go around.
Beso.
The basil is all... Oh.
Senti il profumo? Ah, lo sapevo che svenivi.
And we're just going to shred it. Because the basil is so fresh, picked like a couple of hours ago, you don't even have to worry about the stems. They're so tender. So that goes on top of our tomatoes.
Però, Cristina, l'aglio ne mettiamo poco.
So in this dish, you put just a little bit of garlic because it's fresh. And fresh garlic can be very strong. And even when it's fresh from the soil, you don't want so much garlic that you have a bitter taste. Taglia
Fresh.
o
Sì, sì, taglia così.
anche questo?
Sì, sì.
Okay. So I'm just mincing it. You don't even smell this garlic because it's so fresh.
Ok.
Okay?
Metti sopra.
Così?
Sì. Ok.
Okay?
Mettiamo il sale.
A little bit of salt. So you just put a
Cucchiaio.
little bit of oil in this case because what you're doing now is when we add the preserved eggplant, that'll add more oil and you don't want it to be oily. You want it to be rich, but not oily.
Mescoliamo.
So now she's just going to mix that gently together, just gently together. Okay. So this is going to sit and sort of, not really marinate, but sort of mix a little bit. And now we prepare the bread. This bread is called crispelle, and crispelle has a hole in the center because the story is that fishermen used to string them together, right, so that they could carry them and put them together with capers and maybe some anchovies or other kinds of fish. Okay, one at a time.
Sì, brava. Un tuffo. Basta. Tira su.
Questo veloce?
Veloce.
So what
Okay.
we're doing is just dipping these in cold water because you can see they're hard. So by doing this, what we do is they'll sit and soften because it's bread. So the minute you add a little bit of water, we're doing 1 of these per person. If you don't soak the bread like this and you try to eat it, you'll be like an old person with no teeth because you'll break them. And so to make the caponata Castellamare style, we put the tomatoes, the chopped tomatoes and basil and olive oil and a little bit of salt on top. And then, sopra,
Sì.
then we put some of the marinated eggplant that Antonella made right on top.
Ok.
And then for non-vegans, un bocconcino, which is a form of mozzarella, and that is caponata style from Castellamare. Bravo.
Grazie.
So what you do is you put salt in the water when you cook pasta to flavor the pasta. So for 14 people, we're cooking a
chilo e
kilo
mezzo.
and a half. Okay. And don't break the pasta. Don't break the spaghetti. No.
Chiudi.
And then the pasta's going to cook for about 12 minutes. So after the pasta's drained, don't rinse it. It goes directly on top of the gravy. Oh, Antonella!
Vai.
Vai. Subito! So now, Antonella's using a gigantic fork to stir the pasta into the gravy to create an amazing puttanesca spaghetti alla puttanesca. Oh, ma che profuma. Okay. So since we're taking this pan entirely to the table instead of making each plate with a garnish, we're going to stir all the parsley in.
Eccoci qua.
Ok.
Dottoressa, prego.
Ah, grazie. A tavola.
A tavola.
A tavola.
Vai, pronto, andiamo,
Pronto. La pasta è pronto.
È pronta!
Un po' di pasta, a little pasta. Puttanesca caponata from Antonella. Antonella, grazie mille for having me in your kitchen. Grazie.
Mua.
Until next time,
Mua.
everyone, enjoy. So, my life is filled with great women on friend's side and on family side. On my side, of course, my mother, my nonna, and her 9 sisters. On my husband's side is a huge Sicilian family. And when we first got together, the first thing my husband's family said to him was, "She'll be okay for you. She's at least half Italian," which was my, check mark to be okay. Then it was Christmas Eve, and his family's very traditional. They do like 7 fishes and the whole thing. And so I'm in the kitchen with his Aunt Connie, and his Aunt Connie said to me, will you clean this 90-pound bag of shrimp? And I'm like, "Ooh, Aunt Connie, I'm a vegan. I don't really want to do that." She stuck her head out the kitchen door and said, "The TV chef doesn't cook shrimp." So I cleaned the shrimp. I didn't eat it, but I did clean it. So then fast forward, we go to Sicily to visit Robert's Aunt Pina, who I loved. Auntie Pina was the most amazing woman, if for no other reason that she made me fall in love with eggplant. Because prior to Auntie Pina cooking for me, I never really fell in love with eggplant. It was kind of like one of those veggies that was like, meh, okay, whatever. So Auntie Pina taught me that eggplant was a lot more than I thought it was. She cooked it in every different which way. She would not, however, like the way in which I'm cooking it, because she didn't know from miso. So what I'm doing is taking a globe eggplant, and we're going to score it so that when we put the marinade on it, it will soak in. And all you do is take the tip of your knife like this. And that's how you do it. It goes on the baking sheet. Now we're going to mix our marinade. And the marinade's really simple. It's white miso, which Auntie Pina would have used Parmigiano, but, I don't. Then we have some brown rice syrup to give it some sweetness, because eggplant can be astringent and bitter. So we'll use some brown rice syrup. Then we have a little soy sauce to give it umami, and Auntie Pina would probably really strangle me if she heard the word soy sauce and eggplant together in one sentence. And a little extra virgin olive oil. So we create a nice creamy liquid to go onto our eggplant. And you just mix this together. You could whisk it or just mix it. And then we're going to take this simple marinade and we're going to put it onto our eggplant. and then smear it on so it goes into all these little crevices, right? Doesn't matter if it rolls down the side, or this is not a neat, precise dish. This is very rustic. Just spread that all in, and you can either take this right to the oven or you can let it marinate for a little while before. But it really doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. We're gonna take it to the oven at 375 for about 40 minutes until it's really soft and sort of almost looks like it's shrinking on itself. You'll see. So we let this cook and cool, and after like 35 or 40 minutes, you can see the eggplant really just sort of, shrunk down on itself. And we're gonna eat this right out of the skin. It's really yummy. So we're gonna mix this with rice. Auntie Pina would mix this with pasta. Robert's Auntie Pina was like one of the funniest people that I ever met in my life. She just had a way that she was like this tall and could intimidate you for days. We were on our way there to meet her for the very first time. And she used to live upstairs for Robert when he was a kid. And she moved back to Sicily, and he hadn't seen her in 30 years. So we arrive in Sicily, and we get there, and he walks into her apartment building, and Auntie Pina comes downstairs. Now, the whole way we've been driving, he's like, yeah, my Auntie Pina was quite a babe. She was a babe when she was young. She was this hot ticket. So I'm expecting to meet like Bridget Bardot, Italian style. And this Nonna walks downstairs, introduces herself, and Robert says, after 30 years, 30, says to her, Auntie Pina, you got old. First of all, who says that to a woman? And who says that to a Sicilian woman with a knife in her hand? She says, without missing a beat, so did you. And I fell in love with her immediately, and we became friends. I loved her. So now we're going to take some fresh herbs. I have a mixture of oregano, mint, parsley, and basil. And we're going to coarsely chop it and mix it in with rice. And what I've done is cooked basmati rice and wild rice. And there's something about that combination. This is basmati rice, this is wild rice. There's something about that combination of those two particular kinds of rice, although wild rice is actually a wild grass and not really a rice. It's just such a nice texture and mouthfeel that I use it a lot. It's one of the textures that I really love when I cook whole grains. Right into our mixing bowl. Then we're going to take our rice. And then our cooked wild rice. And you can see how the wild rice opens up. Like it's a beautiful, grassy, very light texture. We're going to add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to kind of make it a little richer. Mix this together. And then I serve this as a main course. This is not a side dish. This is like the whole meal. And I know what you're thinking. Wait, there's no protein. But there is. There's protein in every single thing we eat except fruit. So now we're going to take a serving dish, take our eggplant. I actually like to serve this dish chilled. So I let the eggplant cool. Let's turn this. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so now we're going to take some rice, mound it right down the center. And this dish has so many nice textures and such wonderful flavor that the first time you serve this, you in fact will be the queen of your table. So what are you waiting for? Let's get back to the cutting board, and I'll see you next time on Christina Cooks the Macro-Turanian Way.